Welcome to Build Onchain. Build Onchain is a video series featuring technical Web3 leaders who provide hands-on tutorials for their protocols, tools, and frameworks. Each episode breaks down practical implementation strategies and equips developers with the knowledge to start building on-chain immediately. Today, we have Lava Foundation. Justina, would you like to give yourself an intro?
Of course. It is great to be here. Thank you so much for having Lava on this great series. My name is Justina. I am Developer Relations Engineer at the Lava Foundation. I basically at Lava Foundation team, I'm focusing on enabling the developers build effectively with Lava RPC APIs and also foster the Lava RPC node provider community and overall ecosystem through technical collaborations, technical content, and providing all of the support that the community and the ecosystem needs to build effectively.
Awesome. And then for those who are not up to speed, can you describe a little bit about Lava?
Yeah, maybe here I can actually also show some slides, but Lava first and foremost is a blockchain itself, and it is designed to provide dApps, AI agents, or any, as we call them, consumers, data consumers, decentralized RPC and API access to every other blockchain. So in very simple terms, Lava Network is a decentralized RPC that developers can build very quickly and effectively. And when we say that it provides access to every other blockchain, we truly mean that, meaning that there is no limit to what kind of blockchains can be supported on Lava Network. Today, Lava Network supports over 28 blockchains, mainnets and testnets, and we add new chains on Lava Network every month, depending on what the developer ecosystem needs. And it's very easy to add new chains on Lava Network. I will talk about that maybe a little bit later, but Lava comes with modular components called specifications, and adding a new chain on Lava is really just creating a specification and defining the API methods and interfaces and requirements that RPC node providers have to provide. But yeah, with the Lava Network, developers are enabled to build applications on all of the supported blockchains in a very easy and effective way.
Awesome. Now that we have a little bit of the context, what are we going to build today? What are you demoing?
So I will show how to actually use Lava RPC, because I think that really is the essence. But before that, if I may, actually, I would like to maybe explain a little bit more how Lava Network works under the hood and that decentralized part, because I think then it will be much easier to understand what is happening when I show the demo.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's okay. So to really understand what is happening, I think I just wanted to also, as well to take a few steps back and talk about RPC a little bit so that we understand what is the problem. So if we think about it, every single interaction that we do on chain requires RPC, remote procedure call, checking the balance, claiming an airdrop, testing a smart contract, everything. So RPC is like the way I think about it, it's like a language that allows us to communicate, to read data, write data, and perform all of the interactions. And I think we can agree that it's quite a fundamental infrastructure piece that kind of runs everything. But what I have seen and what the Lava Network team have seen for quite some time is that this part of the infrastructure is quite often overlooked and taken for granted until something goes wrong, and dApps lose access to the blockchain, and then everyone starts speaking about, oh, we actually have to improve that part of the infrastructure. And the problem that developers and blockchain projects are facing right now is that the public RPC access is extremely fragmented and there is no clear standard for performance. So just to give a little bit more detail, what is happening there is that when new blockchain projects launch, they, of course, think about how to onboard developers and to allow them to build on these blockchains. And what happens most of the time is that developers, when they start building on a new blockchain, especially the new ones, they are required to run a node as well. And on one hand, it's nice because it adds to the decentralization of the network, it contributes to the growth of the network. But on the other hand, it's a really cumbersome experience for developers. Running a node is, first of all, it's quite expensive to run the servers. And also it requires quite a lot of know-how, how to do it well, how to do the upkeep of the node and all of that. So as a result, a lot of developers resort to outsourced RPC providers, and quite often these RPC providers, those companies, are centralized, meaning that maybe they run few nodes, but they completely own them, and that by itself creates a single point of failure. And when there is some kind of issue with the centralized RPC provider, dApps lose access to the blockchain data, and that affects the users as well. And we have seen quite a few examples of that over the past few months, and the profound impact that it has on users and developer communities as well. And there is a third option, which is also, on one hand, quite good. So, for example, some blockchain projects, they have community node runners that join the project, they want to contribute, and they run the nodes and provide access to those nodes. And basically, they provide free and public RPC. However, a lot of blockchain projects don't have any mechanism to incentivize community node runners to manage those nodes, to ensure that they are operating at the highest standard. And as a result, based on my own personal experience as well, quite often community nodes, they are out of sync, they stop running, and there are quite a lot of performance issues from time to time, simply because community node runners aren't compensated for the work that they do. So all of these problems is something that Lava is trying to address, because it's a bit fragile how the infrastructure looks like today. And just to very quickly, I will take just maybe a minute or two to quickly explain what is happening. And when I mentioned that Lava provides decentralized RPC and API access to blockchains, like, what does it actually mean? So on one hand, we have communities and builders. They want to build, and like at the end of the day, they care about building. They want to access the blockchain data and build their applications, wallets, AI agents, whatever that is. And then on the other hand, we have the Lava blockchain, which has quite a few mechanisms to route the traffic to the most optimal nodes. So any chain, as I mentioned at the beginning, can be easily added on Lava network with a specification. Specification is a simple JSON file. It contains all of the API methods, interfaces, other requirements that RPC node providers have to meet in order to join the Lava network and service the data requests for a specific chain. So for example, providers, when they join Lava network, they have to stake some Lava tokens to establish the trust within the network. And specification would also define those kind of details, like how much they have to stake and things like that. And so when the chain is added on Lava, independent and really experienced RPC node providers can join the network, configure their infrastructure to service specific chains. For example, let's take a specific example, Ethereum. And they run RPC nodes for Ethereum through Lava. And so what happens here is that users, they start using the endpoints that they have access to. They send the data requests, and all of these requests are passed to the pairing mechanism, which is one of the most important parts of the Lava protocol, which is an engine. You can think of it as an engine that looks at quite a few things to route the traffic to the most optimal provider. So the pairing mechanism will check what type of request that is. Is it archival request or is it just regular request? The geolocation of the request that is coming in. And also, it will check the historical performance of each provider that is eligible to serve a specific request based on the geolocation and type of request, and also the amount of stakes. So basically their trustworthiness across the network. And then the pairing mechanism sort of connects the incoming traffic with the most optimal provider who will be serving the incoming traffic for one epoch, which is 15 minutes time period. After that, the pairing list, the eligible providers, that list is always refreshed and updated. And like this, the mechanism always ensures that the traffic goes to the most optimal node. And also, if one provider for some reason starts underperforming significantly, or a provider goes down, then this pairing mechanism will also automatically choose another provider to take over and service the traffic, so that there would be no impact for the user, who, again, at the end of the day, they just want to make sure that their dApp has access to the blockchain data at all times. And the last thing that I will mention here is that Lava network does have a mechanism to incentivize these independent RPC node providers that permissionlessly join the network to service the data requests. And there are rewards that are distributed to all of these providers that are servicing the requests based on their quality of service. So based on their latency, data freshness, sync, and these kind of metrics. And those rewards come from a few different streams, but one of the main ones actually comes from the blockchain projects that want to bootstrap their infrastructure, and they want to offer their ecosystem public RPC access, so that builders in their community could actually easily build. So, for example, Near or Arbitrum or other foundations, they can create pools with rewards for onboarding these RPC node providers, servicing the requests, and offering their communities with public RPC. So I will just briefly run through this, that we have quite a few projects right now with active pools that give back to providers who service the data requests for those chains. And there are over 140 billion relays that were already serviced on all of the leading chains that are supported on Lava network. And we have over 40 independent RPC node providers that are part of the Lava network today. So every single chain that is supported on Lava, and it is serviced by at least, the minimum number would be 5, but on average, that number is much, much higher. So for every single chain, there are multiple and really experienced RPC providers that are servicing the traffic. And the last thing that I will cover before I jump into the demo to actually show how things work, I will just quickly cover how developers can access Lava RPC. And there are 2 ways to do that. So one of them is using the Lava public RPC. So the one that I just mentioned, that some foundations, they want to offer developer communities public RPC endpoints, which means that developers don't even have to sign up anywhere. They take the endpoint, they plug it into their application, wallet, or whatever they want to do, and they can get going. And under the hood, it uses exactly the same mechanism that I just covered, with using a number of RPC node providers that are servicing the traffic. And those providers are rewarded for all of the work that they do. And where to get those endpoints, I will quickly show. If you would go to the Lava documentation, which is under docs.lavanet.xyz, there is a section called Lava public RPC, and we have a list of all of the supported chains and the endpoints. So all you have to do is just copy the endpoint, plug it in, and start building. And then there is another option of how to access the Lava RPC is using the Lava RPC API UI, which gives access to all of the chains that are supported on Lava network. So there are, as I mentioned, 28 plus chains that are available. And through the platform, through the UI, you get dedicated endpoints. And the advantage of having a dedicated endpoint is that you can very easily manage the access rates, like request per second rate that you have. As your application scales, you can easily start with a completely free plan. And to use those endpoints, all you have to do is go to accounts.lavanet.xyz and get the endpoints. And I will actually show that in the demo that I will be doing right now. So I will cover what I actually going to show for the demo. So to showcase how to build with Lava RPC, I built a very, very simple dApp. Painfully simple. And really the goal of this is not about the actual dApp and the functionality, but it's really about to show how easy it is to build using Lava RPC and especially the multi-chain dApps. So what I have here, again, is an example dApp, very simple React application that kind of mimics the multi-chain live board. So what it does is very simple. It just pulls data about transactions, blocks, latency, and things like that. And it is powered using Lava RPC API endpoints. And there are just a few simple features that I added here to kind of showcase some of the things about the Lava RPC. So one of them is Explorer, which pulls data from about address, transaction, or the latest block. I added 2 chains that this dApp is supporting. So one is Ethereum, another is Arbitrum. Both of them are EVM chains just for the simplicity, but you can add any chain really. Actually, I can maybe start showing like what will be happening here. So for example, I have contract address that I just pasted here. So if I do search, it should look up this contract and pull the details like address, the balance, the transaction count, and the type of the address. Is it like externally owned wallet, or is it a contract? So this is what it does here. Then we have feature for cross-chain balance, which takes wallet address and pulls balance for this address for all of the supported chains. Again, my app currently supports Ethereum and Arbitrum, and I have this wallet address. So if I just run check, it pulls both balances at the same time. So it calls the Ethereum RPC API, Arbitrum, and returns the balances. And I have this mini bench feature, which just calls the block number and gas price endpoints and returns the latency for those across the chains. And last but not least, very simple feature that I added is a live feed of the latest block using different API methods. So this is what it does. It's very, very simple, but the most important things are under the hood. So I would like to now look into the code and show what is happening there and how the configuration with the Lava endpoints look like. So I will just quickly switch to the code and cover some things there. All right. Can you see VS Code?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I will stick to that for now. So as you remember, I made a few interactions with the dApp. I checked the contract address, the details about it. I checked the balances and things like that. So of course, everything under the hood required interactions with the RPC. And my app is, again, simple React application. And there are a few key files that I will just quickly show and then modify. Inside of the config file, I have the most important part, which is the RPC configuration. So you see that I have the chains that I have configured. So I have Ethereum, I have Arbitrum, and I have the endpoints. So I have the HTTP endpoint, and I have the WebSocket endpoint, which are both used for all of the interactions and also for, especially for that live feed feature that checks the latest block, and the same for the Arbitrum. And then all of the interactions, for example, the one that I showed with which one would be good to show? For example, Explorer. So when I pasted the contract address. So this is what was happening under the hood, that I was just running this piece of code, Explorer panel. And under the hood for the EVM chains, I decided to use the Ethers JS library, and it's very simple. We established the RPC provider. It uses the RPC endpoints that I configured inside of the config.js file, and we are calling the methods get balance, get transactions, count, get code, so whether or not that will be then considered a contract or externally owned wallet and things like that, and displaying the results. Another thing that I will show is the balance panel, because this is, I think, something that maybe showcases a little bit of how easy it is to simply get access to multiple chains at the same time. So if you remember in the app, I pasted the wallet address and pulled the balance for that address from multiple chains that are supported. And it's, again, very simple. So using the Ethers library, we establish the provider for the EVM chains. And for each chain that is supported, we simply call the get balance methods. And it's very simple like that. And what else? I think I had the chain card. So this is where I had the WebSocket implementation as well for showing live feed of what is the latest block. So for EVM chains, the methods that are supported include a method called ETH subscribe. So we can subscribe to a specific event. For example, we are checking the new heads, so which is the new head of the chain, so the latest block, and then we can really display that information as the live feed. So if I wanted to enhance my application and, for example, add support for a new chain, all I had to do was to basically get the endpoint for the set chain that I would like to add the support for, and include a configuration. So it's very easy. And I would like to quickly do that to showcase that. So if I'll just copy that because that's just my configuration, and I will change the parameters. For example, I would like to add support for, let's say, base. That will be a pretty simple example. So I can change these details here. And I will have to update the endpoint that I'm using here, because this was just the copied one. So what I have to do now is just to simply get the endpoint for base chain. It is supported on Lava Network. And what I will have to do is I will have to go to the Lava RPC API UI and get the endpoint. So I will quickly switch and get the endpoint. Okay, so to get the Lava RPC API endpoint, all you have to do is go to either accounts.lavanet.xyz or gateway.lavanet.xyz. It's exactly the same URL. And what you will see is this UI. To sign up, it's completely free. Again, Lava RPC API has a freemium plan, so you can start and build completely for free. You don't have to pay anything. to get started. And here you see the list of all of the supported chains. In this case, I would like to access base RPC endpoint, so I will choose base. And what you see here are all of the supported networks for the base blockchain. So we have base mainnet and also base Sepolia testnet. Below, you can see the API interfaces that are supported. So we have the HTTP and WebSocket. Some other chains I will just quickly show have way more interfaces. For example, Lava, which is a Cosmos chain, has way more supported interfaces. And you just choose the interface that you would like to interact with. So I'll go back to base, and let's say I will just stick to the HTTP. And below, I have my endpoint. So all I have to do is copy the endpoint and then continue with building. And just quickly wanted to mention that you can also test the endpoint right here by running the example code that is provided. So if I go back to my code, I copied the endpoint, I paste it here, I restart my dApp, and if I go back quickly to my multi-chain dApp, I think I should start seeing base showing up. Exactly. Yeah. So as you can see, I added the base HTTP requests just by configuring the RPC endpoint. If I configured the WebSocket as well, the feed would show up as well here. So it really is that simple. So with Lava RPC, what we're trying to do is to make sure that developers that are building on chain, that they only would have to worry about building the dApps rather than managing the infrastructure, running the nodes, and worrying about that part. Because I think this is something that Lava decentralized RPC node provider ecosystem does pretty well. So you can just use the endpoints and get building. So I think those are the most important things.
Nice, awesome. And then is there a source code published somewhere on GitHub?
I will provide the link. Maybe we can actually include that in the comments of the video.
Yes.
So it'll definitely be available. Yes.
Awesome.
Again, this is just a demo app, something that I think developers can look at, use as example. With Lava RPC, again, I think there are so many things that can be built from agents. You can use those endpoints for your wallet as well. So lots of things that can be done. So I think developers hopefully will have a lot of great ideas for what to build.
Awesome. Anything that you want to highlight of like any like cool app ideas or anything that you've seen or heard about?
I think some of the things that I really like is seeing the multi-chain wallets being built and overall that piece of infrastructure. I also see Lava RPC being used for DeFi applications as well. So I would like to see more of that coming up. And personally, I would like to see more of AI applications. I've seen some demo examples of that, but would be really cool to see some cool agents using Lava RPC. So if someone is building something like this, definitely let us know. Would love to highlight those kind of applications.
Speaking about AI, I know you guys have been focusing a lot on like AI agents at Lava. I would like to ask anything else that you want to highlight in terms of like what's coming up, anything exciting in the roadmap?
So it's not necessarily specifically about AI. It's definitely one of the important use cases that we see for Lava RPC. But one thing that we are focusing on heavily is building out the overall infrastructure. And some other things that the team is working on is enterprise level infrastructure for applications and building the RPC infrastructure that doesn't break when you have hundreds of millions of users. So one of those projects is already out there. It's called Smart Router, which basically enable enterprise teams to use multiple RPC providers. So it's not just about, let's say, Lava providers that are handling everything under the hood, but we see that teams that scale they actually tend to use multiple RPC providers like Alchemy and DRPC and others. And we are focusing on building out the infrastructure that would enable teams to very seamlessly load balance between these providers, and also make sure that the best ones are servicing the data requests when they come in. So I think we will keep on building on that infrastructure, and just making sure that it's as reliable as developers need, and as fast as developers need. And of course, I am sure there will be more chains coming up on Lava. Again, as I have mentioned, we add new chains on Lava network each month. And if developers who are building would tell us, maybe they can leave some ideas in the comments as well. If there are some chains that you really need access to, let us know, because we can actually work on adding support for those chains on Lava as well.
Nice, awesome. Looking forward to it. I think we're gonna wrap up the episode here. Thank you so much for giving the demo and all the information to the developers. Hopefully, people find it useful. Looking forward to bringing you on next time, maybe when you guys have something new to showcase. And thank you everyone for watching. It was Build Onchain with Eco.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, thank you for Justina for being here.
Thank you.